Okay, let me ask you something. When you think of ancient Rome, what comes to mind? Gladiators in the Colosseum? Is Julius Caesar giving speeches in front of marble columns? Maybe even aqueducts and togas, right? But what if I told you that one of the most perfectly preserved Roman cities wasn't found in Italy, but deep in the blistering heat of the North African desert? Yeah, buckle up, because buried beneath centuries of sand in modern-day Algeria, archaeologists have uncovered something utterly jaw-dropping: a Roman city named Timgad, also known by its original name, Thamugadi. And I'm not just talking about a few ruins or some scattered artifacts. This is an entire Roman metropolis, frozen in time, as if the empire itself left a blueprint behind. Rome in Africa, founded in 100 AD by the Emperor Trajan. Yep, the same guy who built Trajan's Forum and Trajan's Column in Rome. Timgad wasn't just a city, it was a message. A military colony planted in the heart of the Ores Mountains, meant to hold back Berber tribes and stamp Rome's authority into African soil. And here's where it gets really weird. This place, it was laid out like a giant grid with laser-precise streets that would put most modern cities to shame. The two main roads, the Decumanus Maximus, east to west, and the Cardo, north to south, cut through the city like a cross, and everything else was arranged around them in a perfect Roman square. I mean, who brings that kind of engineering to the edge of the Sahara? But it wasn't just practical, it was beautiful. Picture this: limestone streets lined with Corinthian colonnades, 14 public baths, a 3,500-seat theater, a basilica, markets, a full library, and towering temples dedicated to gods like Jupiter. There was even a Capitolium. Rome didn't just expand here, they duplicated themselves, pixel for pixel in stone. And get this, the city was only meant to hold about 15,000 residents. But Timgad didn't just survive, it thrived. Over the years, it exploded in population, eventually quadrupling in size. It became a major trade hub, controlling key routes through the mountains and connecting the Roman world to the very edge of the Sahara. But of course, nothing gold can stay. By the 5th century, the tides turned. Vandal invasions, political chaos, and internal decay chipped away at this mighty outpost. And although it saw a brief revival under the Byzantines, who even built a fortress there, it wasn't enough. By the 7th century, the Arab conquests swept in like a storm. Within a century, Timgad vanished beneath the shifting sands of time. For over 1,000 years, it was completely lost, until archaeologists dug it up again in 1881. And let me tell you, what they found. It wasn't just ruins. It was a ghost city, a message in a bottle from an empire long dead. Just imagine, an entire Roman city buried by time and desert, suddenly revealed like a ghost from the past. But what if I told you that wasn't even the most shocking city to reappear recently? Because while Timgad was slowly reclaimed by archaeologists over decades, another lost city didn't wait to be found. It rose straight out of the water, revealed not by shovels, but by drought. Let's go from the sands of North Africa to the riverbanks of ancient Mesopotamia, where something incredible just surfaced. City from the deep. It started with a drought. A brutal, climate-driven dry spell in Iraq's Mosul reservoir caused water levels to plummet. Locals were worried about crops, power plants, fish, the usual stuff. But what no one expected, not even the archaeologists, was that nature was about to unveil something long hidden beneath the depths of the Tigris River. In early 2022, an ancient city emerged from the water. Not just ruins, a city, streets, walls, towers, even a palace. And here's the kicker. It's believed to be 3,400 years old. Welcome to Zakiku, a forgotten urban center of the mysterious Mitanni Empire. Yeah, the Mitanni, a powerful Bronze Age civilization that once ruled across northern Mesopotamia, controlling parts of modern-day Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. But here's the thing. We barely know anything about them. That's what makes this discovery so chilling and so exciting. When the Mosul reservoir receded, archaeologists from Germany and Iraq sprang into action. They only had weeks before the water would rise again. Imagine that pressure. Ancient history rising from the mud and a ticking clock over their heads. And what they uncover? A palace complex, fortification walls, towers, multi-story buildings, and even what looks like an industrial zone. This wasn't some outpost. Zakiku was a thriving administrative hub, humming with life during the 14th century BCE. The architecture showed skilled urban planning. The buildings were made of sun-dried mud bricks, many of which miraculously survived centuries underwater. It's believed the cold, fresh water may have helped preserve them. Some archaeologists even recovered cuneiform tablets, potentially holding clues about governance, trade, and daily life in the Mitanni Empire. That's huge, because Mitanni written records are so rare, these could completely rewrite what we know about this lost civilization. But here's what gives me chills. The city didn't just vanish, it was swallowed by water, not in ancient times, but in modern history. Submerged beneath the Mosul Dam in the 1980s, and now climate change has temporarily given it back to us. For a moment, it's like the earth is cracking open and whispering, "Look, before I cover this up again." But as quickly as it came, it disappeared beneath the river once more. Zakiku is now submerged again, waiting for the next drought, or maybe the next chapter in human curiosity. And yet, if a massive Bronze Age city can sleep beneath a reservoir, what else is hiding in plain sight? Well, how about an entire civilization carved underneath the earth? You heard that right. We're going underground next. Underground World Revealed. So, picture this. It's 1963. A Turkish man is doing some renovations on his home in the quiet Cappadocian countryside. Suddenly, his chickens vanish, over and over again. At first, he thinks they're just escaping, but then he notices a draft. A strange crevice behind a wall. Curiosity gets the best of him. He digs, then keeps digging. And what he uncover? Not a basement, not a cellar, but a secret tunnel that leads to a room, and then another, and another, and eventually an entire underground city. This is Derinkuyu, once known as Elengubu, and it is mind-blowingly vast. More than 85 meters deep, sprawling across 18 subterranean levels. It's the largest underground city ever discovered. And yes, it's very real. What started as one lost chicken turned into one of the most baffling archaeological finds on Earth. This wasn't just a few bunkers or emergency shelters. Derinkuyu has homes, schools, churches, wineries, livestock pens, even ventilation shafts and water wells. All carved by hand into volcanic rock. And get this, archaeologists believe over 20,000 people once lived down there. Some estimates even say up to 60,000 during times of siege. So who built it? That's still up for debate. Some say it was the Phrygians, others the Hittites, maybe even earlier. But one of the oldest references comes from Xenophon. Writing around 370 BCE, he described people in Cappadocia who lived underground in carved-out homes, centuries before the Byzantine Christians expanded the tunnels to hide from invading forces. And the weirdest part? There are 200 other underground cities in the region, and many researchers believe they may all be connected, forming a gigantic, hidden labyrinth stretching for miles beneath modern-day Turkey. Was it for protection from invaders, from religious persecution, or something else? Whatever the reason, Derinkuyu is a reminder that humanity has always been more creative and more desperate than we think. As we descend from the vast hidden depths of Turkey's Derinkuyu, an underground marvel carved by ancient hands, we now take a sharp turn into the wild heart of the jungle. But this time, instead of looking beneath the earth, we're peering through the treetops using lasers. What's hiding beneath the dense green canopy of Mexico's southeastern forests? A lost Mayan city that had been silently waiting for its story to be rediscovered. The jungle metropolis found. You won't believe how this lost Mayan city was uncovered, because no one was even looking for it. Deep in the Mexican jungle, in the state of Campeche, researchers accidentally stumbled upon something incredible. A sprawling ancient Mayan city hidden beneath thick foliage. It's called Valeriana. And it wasn't discovered by shovels or chance encounters, but through cutting-edge LiDAR technology. Originally, the LiDAR scans were collected for a forest monitoring project, not archaeology. But when the data was analyzed more closely, archaeologists noticed a curious pattern. What looked like random shapes turned out to be architectural structures, over 6,000 of them, sprawling across 122 square kilometers. That's massive. And we're talking pyramids, palaces, altars, ball courts, and tightly packed residential zones. The implications are game-changing. This isn't just a village or ceremonial outpost. It's a full-blown metropolis. Experts estimate Valeriana may have supported a population of 30,000 to 50,000 people during its prime between 750 and 850 AD. Now, what stunned researchers was how the city was planned. Monumental pyramids stood at the center, surrounded by concentric zones of housing, ceremonial spaces, and public plazas. While Valeriana teaches us how an entire civilization could vanish under layers of jungle, another city, frozen in time by volcanic ash, has been revealing secrets that defy centuries. From the jungles of the Maya to the streets of ancient Pompeii, the echoes of forgotten worlds continue to surface. And what archaeologists just uncovered there? It's being called a once-in-a-century discovery. Pompeii's hidden secrets. Pompeii has long been a time capsule of ancient Roman life, but even after 2,000 years of study, it's still delivering jaw-dropping surprises. In what experts are calling a once-in-a-century discovery, archaeologists working on the Great Pompeii Project have unearthed two astonishing finds that are reshaping how we understand Roman society, both publicly and privately. First, there's the House of Thyasis, a lavish Roman residence that features a banquet hall decorated with exquisite frescoes. These artworks are not just pretty pictures. They depict initiation rituals into the Dionysian mysteries, a secretive Greco-Roman cult devoted to the god of wine, ecstasy, and rebirth. The nearly life-sized figures, dancers, satyrs, and a mortal woman mid-initiation, feel like they're moving, whispering stories from a world we thought we understood. This frieze rivals the famous Villa of the Mysteries, long considered the gold standard of Roman fresco art. The detail, the emotion, the color, it's all still there, thanks to the protective layer of volcanic ash that entombed the city in 79 AD. And here's the kicker. It's been sitting there for centuries, untouched. But the surprises didn't stop at the art. In Region 9 of Pompeii, excavators revealed one of the largest private thermal bath complexes ever found in the city. As the frescoes of Pompeii whisper secrets of an ancient Roman world frozen in volcanic ash, our journey into the unexpected continues. And just when you think ancient secrets only rest beneath jungles or buried under stone, the next story takes us somewhere far more personal, right into someone's home. But not just any home. Imagine discovering that the house you've lived in for years is hiding a web of secret tunnels and centuries-old relics beneath your feet. Sounds like something out of a Dan Brown novel, right? Well, for one man in England, it became his bizarre and very real reality. Tunnels beneath his home. It all began with a single photograph. Freddie Goodall, a British property developer, was flipping through old images of his 500-year-old family estate in Sussex, England, when something peculiar caught his eye. The photo, dated 1870, showed a doorway that no longer existed, replaced in modern times by a bookshelf. That one small clue would unravel a discovery that stunned even seasoned historians. Driven by curiosity, Goodall decided to investigate. He moved the bookshelf and, to his astonishment, found a hidden door behind it. Opening it revealed a small hole, just large enough to crawl through. What lay beyond wasn't just a secret room, but an entire network of underground passageways that sprawled beneath the home and beyond. These tunnels were no random burrows. They were deliberately constructed, likely hundreds of years ago, to allow estate staff to move unnoticed by the home's aristocratic owners. In some places, the tunnels even extended toward nearby buildings and a centuries-old church, suggesting a broader, possibly even strategic, purpose in the estate's original design. But the real jaw-droppers came with what Goodall found inside. Old school books, desks, and graffiti from the early 1900s hinted that the tunnels were once used as a school. Yes, a literal underground classroom. Names of students were still etched into the walls. Even stranger, an old safe hidden in the walls, along with letters and books from the 1800s. This discovery, as dramatic and cinematic as it sounds, isn't an isolated phenomenon. It opens up a compelling question. How many other historic homes around the world are unknowingly sitting atop centuries of forgotten history? And speaking of forgotten history, the next chapter plunges us into one of the world's greatest underground enigmas, a marvel of engineering so advanced and massive that it makes these Sussex passageways feel like simple crawl spaces. The Long U Cave Mystery. Now imagine this. You're a farmer in a quiet Chinese village, and one day, curiosity gets the better of you. Locals believe certain ponds in the area are bottomless, and you decide to drain one just to see what's underneath. What you find changes history. That's exactly what happened in 1992 in the village of Xianbeikun, Zhejiang province. When one of the ponds was finally drained, it revealed the entrance to a vast man-made cavern. And that was only the beginning. What lay below were the Long U Caves, a network of intricately carved subterranean chambers unlike anything archaeologists had ever seen. And here's the wild part. These caves date back over 2,000 years, yet not a single ancient text mentions their construction. No records, no blueprints, no clues. It's like they were built in complete secrecy, then completely forgotten, or perhaps deliberately hidden. The sheer scale of the caves is mind-blowing. We're talking about 24 massive grottos covering over 30,000 square meters, all carved by hand out of solid siltstone. Scientists estimate that removing that amount of rock would take 1,000 people working day and night for 6 years. That's not just labor-intensive, that's an engineering feat on par with the pyramids. Each cave descends nearly 30 meters deep and features stone rooms, bridges, water systems, and pillars that appear perfectly positioned to support the structure. Even more mysterious, every surface, walls, ceilings, and columns is uniformly marked with intricate chisel lines, creating a hypnotic pattern throughout the entire complex. But what was the purpose? A temple? A tomb? A military base? No one knows. And until more evidence emerges, the Long U Caves remain one of humanity's greatest underground riddles. One cave has been opened to the public, chosen for the haunting stone carvings found inside. But China isn't the only country hiding ancient underground marvels. If we shift our gaze to the rugged cliffs of Georgia, we uncover a cave city that once defied empires and natural disasters alike. Georgia's Hidden Cave City. Tucked into the southern slopes of the Arasheti Mountains in Georgia, about 30 kilometers from Espinza, lies a place that looks like something out of a fantasy novel. But it's not fiction. It's a sprawling cave city chiseled into solid rock that once stood as a fortress, a monastery, and a miracle of medieval engineering. Vardzia's story begins in the 12th century, during the reign of King Georgi III, but it was his daughter, Queen Tamar, who truly transformed it. Facing the looming threat of Mongol invasions, Tamar envisioned something bold, a city hidden within the mountain itself. It would be secure, self-sustaining, and invisible to would-be attackers. And she succeeded. Stretching over 500 meters across the cliff face and rising 13 stories high, Vardzia eventually housed over 6,000 rooms, a throne hall, and the stunning Church of the Dormition, adorned with vivid frescoes, some of which still survive today. With 2,000 monks in residence at its peak, the city wasn't just spiritual, it was strategic. Narrow tunnels, concealed passageways, and hidden chambers made it virtually impenetrable. And for a while, it worked. The Mongols never conquered Vardzia, but in 1283, nature dealt the city a brutal blow. A devastating earthquake ripped off a massive section of the cliff, exposing the once hidden city to the outside world and future enemies. From that moment, Vardzia began its slow decline. Later invasions, most notably by the Ottomans in the 16th century, drove the remaining inhabitants away. The once bustling cave city became a ghostly shell, its halls and tunnels echoing the footsteps of monks and soldiers long gone. Today, the mountain looks like it's been hollowed out by giants. Standing before Vizia, it's easy to imagine what it must have been like to live inside the mountain, protected by stone walls and ancient faith. Even in ruins, it tells a story of human ingenuity, spiritual devotion, and the resilience of a kingdom that dared to dig into the earth to survive. And just when you think you've seen the limits of underground civilizations, another secret city, this time in France, opens a new chapter in the mystery of what lies below. Naur, underground wartime refuge. Beneath the peaceful commune of Naur in northern France, something extraordinary lies hidden. Not just a few tunnels or a hidden chamber, but an entire underground city, stretching out like a secret world beneath the surface. This isn't a modern shelter or a Cold War relic. The tunnels of Naurs date back nearly 1,700 years, beginning as simple limestone quarries in the 3rd century. Over time, they evolved into an elaborate underground refuge, protecting generations of locals from the ravages of war. By the 17th century, during the chaos of the 30 Years' War, Naur had become a fully functioning subterranean town. It had over 300 rooms, 28 galleries, chapels, stables, and even a bakery with real ovens, all 22 meters beneath the surface. Ingeniously, chimneys vented through fake above-ground buildings, making it nearly impossible to detect from the outside. At its peak, the Naur underground city could house 3,000 people, providing them with everything they needed to survive invasions, sieges, and massacres. For centuries, it was their shield from the horrors above. But over time, as France stabilized, the tunnels fell into obscurity until their rediscovery in 1887 by a local priest, Abbot Becourt. Then, strangely enough, they gained new life, not as a refuge, but as a tourist attraction for World War I soldiers stationed nearby. These visiting soldiers, from places like Australia, England, Ireland, and the US, left something unexpected behind: graffiti. Thousands of names, dates, and unit tags are etched into the chalky walls. Over 3,000 inscriptions have been documented, including 1,800 from Australian troops alone, making it the largest known collection of WI-era graffiti anywhere on the Western Front. These aren't just markings, they're emotional time capsules, snapshots of soldiers who sought brief respite from the trenches by wandering into an ancient underground city, leaving their names behind as proof that they existed. But now, we journey from the hidden depths of France to the sun-scorched deserts of Saudi Arabia, where a forgotten Bronze Age city, buried beneath volcanic stone and desert silence, has just resurfaced, and it's rewriting everything we thought we knew about ancient Arabian life. Saudi Arabia's lost town. When archaeologists uncovered the ruins of Al-Nata in Saudi Arabia's Khaybar oasis, they weren't just discovering another ancient site, they were stumbling upon a revelation. Beneath layers of basalt and sand, a 4,000-year-old town emerged, shattering the long-standing belief that ancient Arabia was home only to wandering nomads. Dating back to 2400 BCE, Al-Nata thrived during the early Bronze Age. It wasn't just a loose scattering of tents, it was a structured urban settlement, complete with fortified ramparts, organized neighborhoods, and even a necropolis lined with stepped tower tombs. Think about that. A full-fledged town in the middle of what we once believed was a desolate desert. This place wasn't massive, only about 1.5 hectares, but it supported up to 500 people and stood for nearly 1,000 years before being abandoned around 1500 BCE. A 14.5-kilometer wall once wrapped around it, offering protection and signaling that Al-Nata wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. The ruins reveal an early society that knew metallurgy, had trade networks, and developed an egalitarian culture focused on survival, not wealth. It's a striking contrast to the towering ziggurats of Mesopotamia or the Grand Pyramids of Egypt. Al-Nata wasn't about spectacle, it was about adaptation, the slow rise of a community learning to tame its harsh environment. And what's most amazing, we almost missed it entirely. Hidden beneath a volcanic rock, only satellite imagery gave away its secrets. Could this just be the beginning of what lies hidden beneath Arabia's sands? From hidden cities carved into cliffs to ancient towns buried beneath desert stones, these discoveries challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. So, what else is still out there, waiting to be unearthed? If you enjoyed this journey through time as much as I did, make sure to hit that like button. It helps the channel grow. And hey, if you love stories like these, subscribe and turn on that little bell so you never miss when I drop a new one. I'd love to hear your thoughts too. Which of these places blew your mind the most? Or do you know of an ancient site that deserves a closer look? Let me know in the comments. I read everyone. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay curious, stay questioning, and never stop exploring.